Good morning and welcome to Sweet King's Garden. So I am going to show you all a video of what Alex and I's garden beds look like as of right now and what we've built to date, as well as what our plans are. I really want to hear your feedback, suggestions, or comments, not only just about like building gardens, but if you have any suggestions for future content, please feel free to send my way. I don't know if you can see how cold it is outside. I can't get over it. Okay, I'm gonna start shooting. So where I was getting at was, please feel free to send me any comments of things that you want to see or questions you have, and I'm happy to answer. So let's get started. What we have here is one of Alex and I's first garden beds that we ever built shortly after buying our property. We literally started from the ground up. I think the first year we gardened was just full of tomatoes, and then the next year I popped in some cucumbers that did really well, and then last year was by far the most successful year. We shuffled a lot of our produce around because we had built another bed. So we will be utilizing this garden again this year. But as you can see, the walls to this garden bed are a bit tapered, and that's just because our yard goes down on a slope a bit. So we wanted to make sure that this was all level. We dug everything up inside the bed and then put really good dirt that we've just been cultivating year after year, and it seems to have worked for us so far. So as I walk down our driveway, we then have what I refer to as the butterfly garden. This was another garden that Alex and I built shortly after renovating our house. As you can see, everything is so frost ridden, but this is where I have my beautiful butterfly bush, and we have a lot of herbs and flowers that attract our pollinators. So if you don't know already, Alex and I have honeybees, so this is one of my favorite places every year because I get to watch the bees and the butterflies that are just around. This is definitely my favorite garden. I think it's like one of the most prettiest, so I can't wait to see it transform this spring and summer. So as we walk to the other side here, these are our newest beds in terms of what we've actually gardened with. Alex and I built these raised beds that kind of go into a hill. These are, I want to say, 2 years old, and we've had 2 full growing seasons with them. So as you can see, they're the same size. I want to say they're like 4 by 12 foot beds. So the first bed that we have here into the hill, we had most of our tomatoes last year. They did really well. Previous years we had them along that more narrow garden, but we found that the sun does much better on this side, and the tomatoes ultimately did better for the sun exposure. So last year I was able to put 4 tomato plants here, and then in between 2 of the tomato plants I put dill. And I grew dill because I had learned that it helps with the hornworm problem that you have with tomatoes. And then of course at the same time I had cucumbers, so I was making pickles, and I was able to make garlic dill pickles. What you see here is a new addition. This is a green stalk. It is a vertical planter. I will link where I got this from, but I've planted some lettuce and radishes in here right before the winter time, and of course things aren't really doing too good right now, but I plan on utilizing this green stalk planter again and using it for like lettuces and greens and stuff like that. I love it. I haven't fully had like a full season gardening with this vertical planter, and then of course over Black Friday I ended up buying 2 more just because you'll see how much we're extending our garden next year. But in terms of a fall garden this past year, I did end up planting, once the tomatoes and dill were done in this garden bed, I ended up putting in this vertical planter. I had some lettuces in there, and then I also planted radishes for the first time, and those went along this right side here, and these radishes were super cool. I threw them in the garden, honestly neglected everything. Like, I did not take care of them whatsoever. And then one day recently, it was like a beautiful spring day, and I came out here and I could see the radish tops like popping up from above the ground, and we had roasted radishes that day, so that was super exciting. So moving on to the other I want to say hill bump out garden. Of course, it's the same size as the other. This is where we had all of our peppers, and our peppers continue to do well, so we're going to continue keeping our peppers here. I planted poblano peppers, sweet bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, and then we had 2 extra tomato plants that I put over here. Last year was my first year growing from seed, and more tomato plants than I expected took off, and I could not part ways with them. Couldn't toss them, so I told Alex, I said, I'm good to squeeze them in a bed one way or another, and they ended up doing really well. So we'll be utilizing both of these gardens again next year. Now this is what I am so excited about for this upcoming gardening year. This is our backyard, so the rest of our property. We have our honeybees here. We have 4 hives total, but this will be additional raised beds. We will have 5 4x12 garden beds. So we have 4 built out already, and then we'll have a 3rd on this row. And then the last remaining garden bed we'll build will be a 4x24 going this way. We'll have arch trellises going in between the garden beds. But yes, this is going to transform. We still, of course, have garden beds to build, but we ended up putting silage tarp down to kill the grass earlier in the summer, like towards the end of the summer. Once we knew like exactly what we wanted to build here, we wanted to prep the ground to kind of kill as much grass as possible. So Alex and I put down this tarp. It laid down for a couple of weeks, and then once we peeked underneath and seen that everything was pretty much dead, we peeled it up and then just took this grater thing that Alex has. I don't know what it is, but we tilled up all the grass, and we plan on filling with these beds with good dirt. Alex and I also started composting towards the end of the summertime, so we hope that as we can utilize that, we can add that into our gardens. All right, so I know that was a quick run through of where we've been and where we're going in terms of our garden beds. To be honest with you, I can't feel my fingers. I can't even press the recording on this GoPro, so I'm hoping that I shot enough content to edit. I know that was kind of all over the place, but I really wanted to just show you guys what we've built over time. It was not overnight. Just to recap, we started with 1 garden, and then we built those 2 additional bump outs into that little hill, and then next year we're expanding beyond that. So all of this to say, you can start as small as you need to. You can start with pots, and really as you garden each season, you'll learn more and more about what you like, dislike, or what you need to try again. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've been able to see me throughout the fog of this cold breath. But I hope you all stay warm, and thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Take care. It's like a kid in a candy shop waiting to shoot this video this morning. It is a little after 7, and I'm gonna try and shoot some content before work. The sun just came up, so I was like snuggled in bed waiting for the sun to rise, and I'm like, come on, come on. And then I'm like, oh, I should have picked a warmer day, but we're gonna roll with it. In between the garden beds, and I'm just so freaking excited. Oh my gosh, I cannot feel my fingers anymore. It's so cold.